When Naomi Ellis, a hard-working cleaning lady with a business degree, is mockingly invited to an exclusive gala by a CEO's vindictive wife, she decides to attend with her head held high. What she doesn't expect is to catch the attention of Gabriel Lane himself, the powerful married CEO who finds himself drawn to the one woman who sees him as more than his wealth and status. As their forbidden connection deepens, they must navigate the dangerous waters of corporate power, family secrets, and a vengeful wife determined to destroy them both. This is a story of love transcending social boundaries, of courage in the face of humiliation, and of two people willing to risk everything for a chance at true happiness. Before we start this story, comment below from where you are watching us. The morning sun peeked through the thin curtains of Naomi Ellis's small apartment. At 27, she lived alone in a modest one-bedroom place that she kept spotless. Her cleaning skills didn't just pay her bills, they were a point of pride. Naomi yawned and stretched, glancing at the clock. It was almost noon. Working nights at the Grand Plaza Hotel and Event Center meant her days and nights were flipped. She'd been doing it for 3 years now, and her body had adjusted to the schedule, even if her social life hadn't. She padded to the kitchen in her worn slippers and made a cup of coffee. The apartment was quiet except for the occasional rumble of the refrigerator. Naomi didn't mind the silence. After nights of hearing the rich and powerful party, while she quietly moved through their spaces with her cleaning cart, she appreciated the peace. The phone rang, breaking the quiet. It was her mother. "Morning, baby." Her mother's warm voice filled the kitchen. "Or I guess it's afternoon for regular folks." "Hi, Mama." Naomi smiled. These daily calls kept her grounded. "How are you feeling today?" "Oh, these old bones are creaky, but I'm still kicking. The real question is, how are you? Still working yourself to the bone at that fancy hotel?" "It pays the bills," Naomi said, taking a sip of her coffee, "and they just gave me a 50-cent raise." Her mother made a sound between a laugh and a snort. "Big spenders, aren't they? When are you going to use that business degree you worked so hard for?" Naomi sighed. The business degree that had cost her 4 years and left her with loans she was still paying off. The degree that was supposed to open doors but somehow hadn't been enough to get her foot through them. "I'm still looking, Mama. You know how it is these days." "I know, baby. I know you're trying. I just want to see you get what you deserve." After hanging up, Naomi got dressed and headed out to the supermarket. Her cabinets were getting empty, and she needed to stock up before work tonight. The store was crowded with after-work shoppers, and Naomi moved through the aisles quickly, calculating costs in her head as she went. At the checkout, her card was declined the first time. Heat rushed to her face as she asked the cashier to try again. The second time it went through, but just barely. Her account was down to double digits again. "Cutting it close this month," she muttered to herself as she carried her groceries home. Later that evening, Naomi arrived at the Grand Plaza through the service entrance. The massive hotel and event center was one of San Francisco's most exclusive venues. Movie stars, tech billionaires, and politicians all hosted events here. Tonight was the annual black tie gala for Lane Enterprises, one of the biggest tech companies in the city. Naomi clocked in and went to the employee locker room to change into her uniform, a plain gray dress with the hotel logo stitched on the breast pocket. She pulled her dark hair back into a neat bun and checked her appearance in the mirror. Professional, invisible, just as they wanted her to be. "Big event tonight," said Rosa, one of the other cleaning staff, as she tied her shoes. "Lane Enterprises. Those tech people are the worst. They think their money makes them gods." "At least they tip sometimes," Naomi replied, organizing her cleaning cart. "True, better than those finance guys who treat us like we're furniture." Naomi wheeled her cart toward the grand ballroom where preparations were already underway. Florists arranged stunning displays of white roses and calla lilies. Caterers set up stations of gourmet food. The champagne alone probably cost more than Naomi made in a month. As she cleaned the bathrooms before the event started, she could hear the event planners shouting orders, making sure everything was perfect. The Lane Enterprises Gala was apparently the social event of the season. By 7 o'clock, guests began to arrive. Naomi moved to the back areas, staying out of sight until she was needed. The hotel manager had strict rules about the cleaning staff. They were to remain invisible until something needed attention, then disappear again. From her position near a service door, Naomi could see the guests arrive. Women in designer gowns that cost thousands, men in custom tuxedos, everyone dripping with jewelry and privilege. She watched them air kiss and laugh loudly. showing off perfect teeth and practiced smiles. "Champagne spill in the West Corridor," came the call over her radio. Naomi grabbed her supplies and headed out. The spill was near one of the smaller reception rooms. As Naomi knelt to clean it up, a group of women exited the room, laughing about something. They were all tall, thin, and immaculately dressed, with that polished look that only serious money can buy. "Oh, careful there," one of them said, barely glancing at Naomi as she stepped around the wet spot. Naomi kept her head down and continued working. This was standard, being looked through rather than at. She'd learned long ago to make herself small, to work quickly and efficiently without drawing attention. "You missed a spot," said another woman, pointing with her champagne glass. Naomi looked up. The woman was striking, tall with red hair cut in a severe bob, wearing a black gown that hugged her thin frame. Her lipstick was the exact color of the wine in her glass. The nameplate on her clutch purse read, "Vanessa Lane, the CEO's wife." "I'm sorry, ma'am." "I'll get it right away," Naomi said, moving her cloth to the indicated spot. Vanessa Lane continued to watch her, a strange smile playing on her lips. The other women had moved on, but she stayed, sipping her drink and observing Naomi clean. "You're very thorough," she said finally. "Thank you, ma'am." "What's your name?" Naomi looked up, surprised. Guests rarely asked for her name. "Naomi Ellis, ma'am." "Naomi," Vanessa repeated, as if testing the name. "How long have you worked here, Naomi?" 3 years now. "And do you enjoy it? Cleaning up after people like us?" There was something in her tone that made Naomi uncomfortable, a hint of mockery wrapped in fake concern. "It's a job, ma'am. It pays the bills." Vanessa laughed, a tinkling sound like breaking glass. How refreshingly honest. She opened her clutch and pulled something out. "Tell me, Naomi, have you ever attended one of these events? As a guest, I mean." "No, ma'am. I just work them." "Well, that's about to change." Vanessa held out a cream-colored envelope. "This is an invitation to our gala next month. Same venue, of course." Naomi stood slowly, confusion written across her face. "I don't understand." "It's simple, really. I'm inviting you as a guest." Vanessa pressed the envelope into Naomi's hand. "You have to come. I mean, why not? You're practically family, considering how many of our events you've cleaned up after." She smirked. "Bring that spark of yours." Naomi looked down at the envelope, then back at Vanessa, whose eyes glittered with amusement. The other women had noticed the exchange and were watching from a distance, barely containing their laughter. It was a joke, a cruel test, something to laugh about over their expensive lunches. Thank you, but I couldn't possibly." "I insist," Vanessa cut her off. "It would be so interesting to see you there." She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a stage whisper. "And between us girls, the help never turns down a free meal, right?" With that, she glided away to rejoin her friends, leaving Naomi holding the invitation, her cheeks burning with humiliation. For the rest of her shift, Naomi couldn't stop thinking about the invitation. She should throw it away. It was clearly meant to humiliate her, to make her the butt of some inside joke among the wealthy wives who had nothing better to do than torment the cleaning staff. But something stopped her from tossing it in the trash. Maybe it was pride or defiance or just plain curiosity. What would happen if she actually showed up? Would they laugh in her face? Probably. Would it be humiliating? Almost certainly. And yet, by the time her shift ended at 5 a.m., Naomi had made up her mind. She was going to attend that gala. Not because she wanted to be part of their world, but because she refused to let them think she was ashamed of who she was. The next few weeks passed in a blur of work and preparation. Naomi scoured thrift stores and rental shops, looking for a dress that wouldn't scream bargain bin, but also wouldn't empty her already strained bank account. She found it at a consignment shop in the Mission District, a midnight blue gown with a modest neckline and a flowing skirt. It had been worn once by someone much wealthier, then discarded. The price was still painful, 2 weeks' worth of groceries, but Naomi handed over her credit card without hesitation. "Special occasion?" asked the shop owner as she wrapped up the dress. "You could say that," Naomi replied. "I'm crashing a party I wasn't supposed to be invited to." The night of the gala arrived faster than Naomi expected. She stood in front of her bathroom mirror, applying makeup with a careful hand. She'd watched enough YouTube tutorials to know how to make her eyes pop and her cheekbones stand out. Her hair, usually pulled back in a practical bun, now fell in soft waves around her shoulders. The dress fit perfectly, making her look taller and more elegant than she felt. Naomi slipped on her only pair of heels, black pumps she'd bought for a job interview years ago, and took a final look in the full-length mirror on her closet door. For a moment, she didn't recognize herself. The woman in the mirror looked confident, beautiful, ready to walk into a room full of people who thought they were better than her and prove them wrong. But beneath that facade, Naomi's stomach was in knots. What was she thinking? These people ate girls like her for breakfast. They had more money in their checking accounts than she'd make in a lifetime. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Good luck tonight, baby. Show them who you are." Naomi took a deep breath. She could do this. One night, a few hours at most. Walk in with her head high, show them she wasn't ashamed, and then leave with her dignity intact. She called a rideshare, another expense she couldn't really afford, but there was no way she was taking the bus in this dress, and headed to the Grand Plaza. The hotel looked different from the front entrance. Naomi had always used the service doors in the back, never the grand revolving doors with uniformed doormen and the red carpet stretching out to the curb. As her car pulled up, she saw the usual parade of expensive vehicles dropping off guests. Women in designer gowns, men in tuxedos, all of them wearing that easy confidence that came with never having to worry about whether your card would be declined at the grocery store. For a moment, Naomi almost told the driver to keep going, to take her back home where she belonged. But then she remembered Vanessa Lane's smirking face, the barely concealed contempt in her eyes. "I'll be right here," Naomi whispered to herself. "I belong right here." She paid the driver, adding a tip she couldn't afford, and stepped out onto the red carpet. The doorman opened the door for her with the same deference he showed all the guests, not recognizing her as one of the cleaning staff who usually came through the back. The lobby was transformed for the event, with flower arrangements bigger than Naomi's coffee table and champagne flowing freely. She took a glass from a passing waiter, needing something to hold on to, something to do with her hands. As she approached the entrance to the ballroom, a young man with a tablet asked for her name. "Naomi Ellis," she said, half expecting to be turned away. But he found her name on the list. Vanessa had actually put her on the guest list and waved her through with a smile. The ballroom where Naomi had cleaned countless spills and emptied so many trash cans was now a glittering wonderland. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the crowd. A string quartet played in the corner. The air smelled of expensive perfume and flowers. And then, as if in slow motion, people began to notice her. At first, it was just a few glances, the kind of casual assessment people do when someone new enters a room. But then Naomi saw a familiar face, one of the women who had been with Vanessa when she'd given Naomi the invitation. The woman nudged her companion and whispered something. Then another recognized her, and another. Soon a ripple of whispers and stares spread through the nearest group of guests. Some looked shocked, others amused. A few were openly laughing. Naomi's cheeks burned, but she kept her chin up and her back straight. She had known this would happen. She had prepared for it. She would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her crumble. And then, across the room, standing alone near a window, she saw him, Gabriel Lane, the CEO of Lane Enterprises, the man whose name was on the building, the husband of the woman who had set this whole cruel joke in motion. He was taller than Naomi had expected, with broad shoulders emphasized by his perfectly tailored tuxedo. His dark hair was cut short, his jaw clean-shaven. Even from a distance she could see that his eyes were intense, focused, and they were looking directly at her. The room seemed to quiet, though Naomi knew it was just her imagination. The music played on. People continued to talk and laugh, but in that moment, it felt like there were only two people in the entire ballroom. Gabriel Lane stared at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Confusion? Interest? Displeasure? Whatever it wasn't the mocking amusement she saw on so many other faces. Then, to Naomi's shock, he began walking toward her, moving through the crowd with purpose. Her heart pounded in her chest. What was happening? Was he coming to throw her out? To join in his wife's cruel joke? Naomi squared her shoulders and took a deep breath. Whatever was coming, she would face it with dignity. Gabriel Lane stopped directly in front of her, his eyes never leaving hers. "I don't believe we've met," he said, his voice deep and surprisingly gentle. "I'm Gabriel Lane." Naomi swallowed hard. "Naomi Ellis." "Naomi," he repeated, as if committing it to memory. "Would you like a drink? Something stronger than champagne, perhaps?" She looked at him suspiciously. Was this part of the joke? "No, thank you. I'm fine with this." He nodded, respecting her decision without pushing. "How do you know my wife?" The question hung in the air between them. Naomi hesitated, unsure how to answer. Should she tell him the truth? that his wife had invited the cleaning lady as a cruel joke to entertain her friends. Before she could decide, a commotion near the entrance caught their attention. Vanessa Lane had arrived, fashionably late as always, surrounded by her usual entourage of sycophants. She scanned the room, her eyes finally landing on Naomi and Gabriel. For a moment she froze, her perfect smile faltering. Then, with practiced poise, she made her way toward them, her red lips curved in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Gabriel, darling," she said, air-kissing her husband's cheek, "I see you've met our special guest." The way she emphasized "special" made Naomi's skin crawl. Gabriel's expression remained neutral. "Yes, I was just getting acquainted with Naomi." Vanessa's eyes flickered between them, a flash of something dangerous passing over her face. "How lovely. Naomi is one of our cleaning staff, isn't that right, Naomi?" The words hung in the air, meant to embarrass, to put Naomi in her place. Around them, conversations quieted as people turned to watch the drama unfold. Naomi felt her cheeks burn, but she kept her head high. "That's right, I clean this venue most nights, including after your events, Mrs. Lane." Gabriel looked at his wife, then back at Naomi, understanding dawning in his eyes. But instead of embarrassment or disgust, something else flashed across his face, something that looked almost like admiration. "Is that so?" he said quietly. Then, to everyone's surprise, including Naomi's, he extended his hand to her. "In that case, I hope you'll allow me the honor of the first dance." Gasps and whispers erupted around them. Vanessa's face hardened into a mask of fury. "Gabriel," she hissed, "what are you doing?" He didn't look at his wife. His eyes remained fixed on Naomi, waiting for her answer. Naomi knew she should say no. This was already more complicated than she had intended. She had come to make a point, to show them she wasn't ashamed, and then leave with her dignity intact. But something in Gabriel's eyes, a sincerity, a challenge, made her place her hand in his. "I'd be honored," she said. And as Gabriel Lane led her to the dance floor, Naomi felt every eye in the room on them, including the burning gaze of Vanessa Lane. The night had just begun, and nothing was going as planned. The music seemed to grow louder as Gabriel led Naomi to the center of the dance floor. Conversations hushed. Phones were raised to capture the moment. It wasn't every day that Gabriel Lane, the notoriously serious CEO who rarely smiled, danced with anyone, let alone a woman who wasn't his wife. "Everyone is staring," Naomi whispered as Gabriel placed one hand respectfully on her waist. "Let them," he replied, his voice calm. "Most of these people have nothing better to do than gossip." Naomi had never danced like this before. She'd practiced in her apartment to YouTube videos, but that hardly prepared her for dancing with a man who clearly knew what he was doing. Gabriel led with confidence, guiding her gently around the floor. "I'm not very good at this," she admitted. "You're doing fine," he said. Then, after a pause, "So you clean this venue?" Naomi nodded, feeling her cheeks warm. "Night shift, 3 years now. And my wife invited you to this event?" His tone was even, but his eyes were searching. "She did." Naomi hesitated, then decided on honesty. "Though I'm pretty sure it was meant as a joke." Gabriel's jaw tightened slightly. "That sounds like Vanessa." "I probably shouldn't have come," Naomi said. "I disagree," Gabriel replied immediately. "I'm glad you did." The simple statement hung between them as they continued to dance. Naomi couldn't read his expression, but there was something in his eyes, a sincerity that made her breath catch. Across the room, Vanessa Lane was fuming. She downed her champagne in one gulp and grabbed another from a passing waiter. "What is he doing?" she hissed to her friend Melissa. "Dancing with the help? Is he trying to humiliate me?" Melissa patted her arm. "Calm down, Vanessa. It's just one dance. He's probably being polite." "Polite?" Vanessa scoffed. "He hasn't danced with me in months, but he'll dance with some cleaning woman. This was supposed to be a joke. She was supposed to show up looking pathetic, not—" She gestured angrily at Naomi. "Like that." "She does clean up well," Melissa admitted, then quickly added, "But she's nobody, Vanessa. A nobody who cleans toilets. Gabriel is just being charitable." "He better be," Vanessa muttered, her red nails digging into her palm. "Because if he thinks he can embarrass me at my own event, he's very mistaken." On the dance floor, Gabriel and Naomi continued to move together, falling into an easy rhythm. "So, Naomi Ellis," Gabriel said, "tell me something about yourself that has nothing to do with cleaning this hotel." Naomi looked up at him, surprised by the question. "Like what?" "Anything. What do you care about? What do you do when you're not working?" Naomi thought for a moment. "I read a lot. Mostly business books, actually. I have a business degree that I'm still paying off." Gabriel's eyebrows raised slightly. "A business degree? From where? State. Nothing fancy. I finished 4 years ago, but, she shrugged, finding a job in the field hasn't been easy. So you clean while looking for something better. I clean because it pays the rent, Naomi corrected him. There's nothing wrong with honest work. Gabriel's expression softened. I didn't mean to imply there was. The music was beginning to wind down. Soon the dance would be over, and Naomi wasn't sure what would happen next. Part of her wanted to thank Gabriel politely and leave before Vanessa could cause a scene. But another part, a part she didn't quite understand, wanted to stay right where she was. As the final notes played, Gabriel surprised her by asking, "Would you like to get some air?" The balcony is usually empty during these events. Naomi hesitated. Going somewhere more private with the CEO, whose wife already hated her, seemed like a bad idea. But the thought of facing the staring crowd again was equally unappealing. Just for a minute, she agreed. Gabriel led her toward a set of glass doors at the far end of the ballroom. Naomi could feel Vanessa's eyes burning into her back as they walked away. The balcony overlooked the city lights, a breathtaking view that Naomi had glimpsed before but never fully appreciated. The night air was cool against her skin after the warmth of the ballroom. "It's beautiful," she said, looking out at the sparkling city below. "It is," Gabriel agreed, but when she turned, he was looking at her, not the view. Naomi felt her heart speed up. This was dangerous territory. She had come here tonight to prove a point, not to get mixed up with a married man, especially not one as powerful as Gabriel Lane. "Mr. Lane, Gabriel, please." "Gabriel," she corrected. "I should probably go. I've made my point, and I don't want to cause any more trouble." "What point were you trying to make?" he asked. Naomi thought for a moment. "That I'm not ashamed of who I am, that I won't be laughed at." Gabriel nodded slowly. "That's a good point to make." He moved a step closer. "And what trouble do you think you're causing?" Naomi gestured toward the ballroom. "Your wife is furious. Everyone in there is talking about us. This isn't exactly a normal Tuesday night for me." "Nor for me," Gabriel admitted. "But maybe that's a good thing." Before Naomi could ask what he meant, the balcony doors burst open and Vanessa Lane stormed out, her face flushed with anger and alcohol. "There you are," she said, her voice tight. "People are asking where you've gone, Gabriel. It looks bad for the CEO to disappear from his own company's gala." Gabriel's expression hardened. "I'm sure you can handle the small talk for a few minutes, Vanessa. You usually do." Vanessa's eyes darted between Gabriel and Naomi, narrowing dangerously. "Is this some kind of revenge, Gabriel? Because if it is, it's pathetic. Dancing with the cleaning lady to make me jealous." "Vanessa," Gabriel warned, his voice low. But Vanessa was too far gone to stop. She turned her fury on Naomi. "And you. Did you think if you put on a pretty dress and batted your eyelashes you could move up in the world? Trade your mop for a millionaire?" Naomi felt her cheeks burn, but she kept her voice steady. "I came because you invited me, Mrs. Lane. Nothing more." "I invited you as a joke," Vanessa snapped, her composure cracking. "You were supposed to show up looking ridiculous, not—" She gestured at Naomi's dress, her hair, her whole appearance. "Not like this. You were supposed to know your place." Naomi straightened her shoulders. "I know exactly what my place is, Mrs. Lane, and it's not beneath you or anyone else." Vanessa's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in fury. She took a step forward, raising her hand as if to slap Naomi, but Gabriel caught her wrist. "That's enough, Vanessa," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "Go back inside, now." Vanessa yanked her arm free, glaring at both of them. "This isn't over," she hissed, then turned and stormed back into the ballroom. An uncomfortable silence fell between Gabriel and Naomi. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the mild night. "I'm sorry about that," Gabriel said finally. "Vanessa can be difficult." "That's one word for it," Naomi replied, attempting a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I should definitely go now." Gabriel looked like he wanted to argue, but instead he nodded. "At least let me call you a car." "I can get my own ride," Naomi insisted. "But thank you for the dance and for—" She gestured to where Vanessa had been standing. "For that." Gabriel reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "Take this. My personal number is on the back. If you're still looking for work that uses that business degree, call me." Naomi looked at the card, then back at Gabriel. "Is that a good idea? After tonight? Probably not," he admitted with a small smile. "But I've found that the best decisions I've made were rarely the sensible ones." Naomi hesitated, then took the card, careful not to let their fingers touch. "Good night, Mr. Lane." "Gabriel," he corrected again. "Good night, Gabriel," she said softly, then turned and walked back through the ballroom, head held high despite the stares and whispers that followed her. She was almost to the exit when a hand caught her arm. Naomi turned, expecting, hoping, to see Gabriel, but instead found herself face to face with a tall, slender man in an expensive suit. "Miss Ellis? James Porter, Gabriel Lane's assistant," he said in a clipped, efficient voice. "Mr. Lane asked me to ensure you get home safely." "That's really not necessary," Naomi began, but James cut her off. "I've already called a car. It's waiting outside." His tone made it clear this wasn't a request. Too tired to argue, Naomi followed him out to the front entrance where a sleek black car idled at the curb. James opened the door for her, then handed her an envelope. "What's this?" Naomi asked. "Mr. Lane thought you might have expenses from tonight. Dress rental, transportation, that sort of thing." Naomi looked down at the envelope, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and insult. "I don't need his money." James regarded her with newfound interest. "Most people don't turn down Gabriel Lane's money." "I'm not most people," Naomi replied, handing the envelope back. "Thank you for the car, but tell Mr. Lane I don't need to be reimbursed for attending his wife's joke." A ghost of a smile flickered across James's normally impassive face. "I'll relay the message." He stepped back from the car. "Good night, Miss Ellis." The drive home was a blur. Naomi's mind kept replaying the evening, Gabriel's hand on her waist, the look in his eyes when he asked about her, Vanessa's fury, the business card now tucked safely in her purse. What had she gotten herself into? Back at her apartment, Naomi kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief. Her feet ached, her head was spinning, and she was emotionally exhausted. She changed into her comfortable pajamas, wiped off her makeup, and fell into bed. But sleep wouldn't come. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Gabriel's face, heard his voice. It was ridiculous. Men like Gabriel Lane didn't end up with women who cleaned their event venues. Tonight had been a strange deviation from normal life, nothing more. Tomorrow, everything would go back to the way it was. Except it didn't. The next evening, when Naomi arrived for her shift, her supervisor called her into the office. "Ellis, you're being reassigned," he said without preamble. Naomi's stomach dropped. "Reassigned? Why, did I do something wrong?" "Orders from above," he said, not meeting her eyes. "You're not to work events anymore. Day shift only, back offices, starting tomorrow." Vanessa Lane. It had to be. She was punishing Naomi for last night. "I need the night shift," Naomi said, trying to keep her voice steady. "The pay is better, and I have obligations during the day." Her supervisor shrugged. "Not my call, Ellis. Take it up with management if you want, but my advice, don't rock the boat, at least you still have a job." Naomi left the office in a daze. She had known there would be consequences for last night, but she hadn't expected them to come so quickly or hit so hard. The night shift paid nearly $2 more per hour than days, plus better tips. Without that extra money, she'd struggle even more to make ends meet. As she mechanically went through her cleaning routine, her anger grew. This wasn't fair. She hadn't done anything wrong. Vanessa had invited her, had practically dared her to come, and now she was being punished for it. By the end of her shift, Naomi had made up her mind. She wasn't going to accept this lying down. She pulled Gabriel's business card from her purse and stared at it. Calling him felt like crossing a line, but what choice did she have? She needed this job, needed the night shift pay. With a deep breath, she dialed the number written on the back of the card. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Naomi was about to hang up when a familiar voice answered. "This is Gabriel Lane." Naomi froze. Now that she had him on the line, she wasn't sure what to say. "Hello?" Gabriel prompted. "It's Naomi," she said finally. "Naomi Ellis, from last night." There was a pause, then Gabriel's voice, warmer now. "Naomi, I'm glad you called. I was just thinking about you." Her heart skipped a beat at his words, but she forced herself to focus. "I'm calling because there's a problem. I've been reassigned at work, moved to day shift, away from events. Let me guess. Vanessa's doing." "I think so. I need the night shift, Gabriel. The pay is better and I have..." She hesitated, then decided to be honest. "I take classes during the day, online business courses, trying to get ahead." There was a moment of silence. Then Gabriel said, "I'll take care of it." "You will?" Naomi hadn't expected it to be that easy. "Of course, this is my fault as much as anyone's. I'll make a call right now." "Thank you," Naomi said, relief washing over her. "I really appreciate it." "Don't thank me yet," Gabriel replied. "But I am curious about something." "What's that? Why didn't you take the money I sent? Most people would have." Naomi thought for a moment. "I don't want your charity, Gabriel. I came to that party on my own terms. I'll leave on my own terms, too. There was a pause, then a soft chuckle. You're not like most people I meet, Naomi Ellis. Is that a good thing? She asked before she could stop herself. A very good thing, he replied, his voice low. Look, I meant what I said about your business degree. Lane Enterprises is always looking for talent. Why don't you send your resume to my personal email? I'll make sure it gets looked at. Naomi hesitated. Part of her wanted to say yes immediately. This was exactly the kind of opportunity she'd been waiting for. But another part, the proud part, resisted. I don't want special treatment, she said finally. If I get a job, I want it to be because I earned it. Fair enough, Gabriel said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. How about this? Send your resume to our HR department. Apply for any position you're qualified for. No mention of me, no special treatment. But if you make it to the interview stage on your own merits, I'll make sure I'm one of the interviewers. Deal? Naomi couldn't help but smile. Deal. Good. And Naomi? Yes? I really am glad you called. After they hung up, Naomi sat on the edge of her bed, phone still in hand, heart racing. What was she doing? Getting involved with Gabriel Lane, even professionally, was playing with fire. He was married. He was powerful. He was way out of her league. And yet she couldn't deny the connection she'd felt when they danced, when they talked. It had been real, whatever it was. The next morning, Naomi woke to a text from her supervisor. Schedule change cancelled. You're back on night shift. Events. Don't ask me how or why. She smiled, relief washing over her. Gabriel had kept his word. But now she owed him, and that made her uncomfortable. Naomi Ellis didn't like owing anyone anything. She spent the morning polishing her resume, updating it with her recent online courses and the management experience she'd gained organizing the cleaning staff during major events. Then, heart pounding, she navigated to the Lane Enterprises website and clicked on Careers. There were several openings in the business operations department, including one for an operations coordinator that matched her qualifications almost perfectly. Before she could lose her nerve, Naomi submitted her application. That night at work, Naomi kept her head down and focused on her tasks. The ballroom was hosting a charity auction, nothing as grand as the Lane Enterprises gala, but still filled with wealthy people in expensive clothes. As she efficiently cleaned up a spilled drink, Naomi found herself wondering which of these people might be her colleagues someday if she got the job at Lane Enterprises. The thought both excited and terrified her. Around midnight, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your application was received. Interview scheduled for Friday, 10 a.m. This is the first of 3 rounds. No special treatment, as promised. G. Naomi's heart leaped. An interview already. She quickly saved the number under G and texted back, "Thank you for letting me know. I appreciate the fair shot." 3 dots appeared, indicating he was typing a response. They disappeared, then reappeared as if he was considering his words carefully. Finally, "You earned it. Your resume is impressive. The courses you've been taking show determination. That means something." Naomi smiled at her phone. "Still, thank you." Another pause, then, "How's the night shift? Back to normal? Cleaning up champagne spills for the rich and famous? Anyone I know? Probably. It's some charity thing for children's hospitals." "Ah, the Maxwell Foundation event. Decent cause, at least." Naomi glanced around to make sure no one was watching her text during work. "I should get back to it. Early meeting with a mop in the men's room." Gabriel's response came quickly. "Go easy on him." "Mops are sensitive." Naomi laughed out loud, earning a curious look from another cleaner. She tucked her phone away, still smiling. Gabriel Lane, CEO of a tech empire, was joking with her about mops. The world had gone mad. The next few days passed in a blur of preparation. Naomi researched Lane Enterprises thoroughly, practiced interview questions, and spent far too much money on a professional outfit she could barely afford. By Friday morning, she was a bundle of nerves, but determined to give it her best shot. Lane Enterprises headquarters was a gleaming tower of glass and steel in the financial district. Naomi had passed it many times, but had never been inside. As she walked through the imposing front doors, she fought the urge to turn and run. "You belong here," she whispered to herself, "just as much as anyone." The receptionist directed her to the 30th floor, where a friendly HR representative met her and led her to a conference room. "The interview panel will be in shortly," the woman said with a smile. "Water?" "Yes, please," Naomi said, her mouth suddenly dry. As soon as the HR rep left, Naomi took several deep breaths to calm her racing heart. She could do this. She had prepared. She knew her stuff. The door opened and 3 people walked in. A middle-aged woman with a kind smile, a serious-looking man with glasses, and Gabriel Lane. He looked different here, more formal, more imposing in his perfectly tailored suit and crisp white shirt. He gave no indication that he knew Naomi beyond this professional setting, his face betraying nothing as he took his seat across from her. "Ms. Ellis," the woman began. "I'm Helen from HR, this is Marcus from Operations, and I believe you know our CEO, Mr. Lane." Gabriel nodded politely. "Ms. Ellis." Naomi straightened her shoulders and smiled confidently. "Thank you all for this opportunity." The interview began normally enough, with standard questions about her experience, education, and career goals. Naomi answered thoughtfully, making sure to highlight her relevant skills and knowledge. Marcus seemed impressed by her detailed understanding of operational workflows, while Helen nodded approvingly at her responses about team dynamics. Gabriel said very little, just watched her with those intense eyes that seemed to see right through her. Finally, he spoke. "Ms. Ellis, you mentioned on your resume that you've been working night shifts while taking business courses during the day. That can't have been easy. What motivated you to push yourself that hard?" Naomi met his gaze steadily. "Necessity at first. I needed the income from the night job to pay for the courses, but over time, it became about proving something to myself, that circumstances don't define me, my choices do." A slight smile tugged at the corner of Gabriel's mouth. "And if you were hired here, what would your first priority be?" "Learning," Naomi replied without hesitation. "Understanding how Lane Enterprises operates from the ground up. No matter how much you study from the outside, there's nothing like being in the trenches." Marcus nodded approvingly. "Good answer." The interview continued for another 20 minutes. Then Helen stood with a smile. "Thank you, Ms. Ellis. We have a few more candidates to interview, but we'll be in touch within the week." Naomi shook hands with all three interviewers, careful to keep her expression professional when she reached Gabriel. His hand was warm around hers, the touch brief, but somehow electric. "Thank you for your time," she said politely. "Thank you for yours," he replied, his voice giving nothing away. Naomi left the building feeling cautiously optimistic. She thought the interview had gone well, but she had no idea if she'd make it to the next round. And even if she did, what then? Working at Lane Enterprises would mean seeing Gabriel regularly. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. That evening, as she prepared for her shift at the hotel, her phone buzzed with a text from G. "You were impressive today. The others thought so too." Naomi smiled at her phone. "Thank you. I tried my best. Second-round interviews will be announced Monday, just so you know." She hesitated, then typed, "Is this you giving me special treatment?" The response came quickly. "This is me being impatient. I wanted you to know sooner." Naomi bit her lip, unsure how to respond. Before she could decide, another text came through. "Have dinner with me tomorrow." Her heart skipped a beat. This was crossing a line. A big one. "You're married, Gabriel." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then, "In name only. Vanessa and I haven't been a real couple in years. We stay together for appearances, business connections. It's complicated." "It sounds complicated," Naomi replied, "which is why dinner is probably a bad idea." "Probably," he agreed, "but I still want to have dinner with you. Just dinner, Naomi. A chance to talk without interviews or galas or angry wives interrupting." Naomi stared at the phone, torn. The sensible part of her knew she should say no. Getting involved with Gabriel Lane, personally or professionally, was asking for trouble. But another part, a part that had been dormant for too long, wanted to say yes. "Just dinner," she typed finally. "Just dinner," he confirmed. "My driver can pick you up at 7. Naomi took a deep breath, then typed the 2 words that might change everything. "I'll come." Across town, in his penthouse office, Gabriel Lane smiled at his phone. For the first time in years, he felt something like hope. But as he tucked his phone away, the door to his office opened, and Vanessa walked in. "Working late again?" she asked, her voice honey-sweet but her eyes cold. "You've been distracted lately, Gabriel. Is something, or someone, on your mind?" Gabriel's expression hardened. "What do you want, Vanessa?" She walked to his desk, trailing her fingers along the polished surface. "Just checking on my husband, making sure he remembers who he is." She leaned in, her voice dropping. "And what he stands to lose if he forgets." Gabriel stood, towering over her. "Are you threatening me?" Vanessa smiled, a predator's smile. "Of course not, darling, just reminding you of our arrangement. You keep the public image we've created and I keep your secrets." She straightened up. "By the way, I heard you're interviewing a new operations coordinator. Anyone interesting?" The casual way she asked sent a chill down Gabriel's spine. He kept his face neutral. Several promising candidates. HR handles most of it. Vanessa didn't look convinced. Well, don't work too late. We have that charity brunch tomorrow. After she left, Gabriel sat heavily in his chair. What was he doing? Getting involved with Naomi Ellis was risky. For both of them. Vanessa was dangerous when crossed, and she had too much dirt on him. Too many connections that could hurt Lane Enterprises if their marriage publicly fell apart. But for the first time in years, Gabriel had met someone who made him feel alive again. Someone who looked at him and saw a person, not a bank account or a stepping stone. Someone who turned down his money and stood her ground. He picked up his phone and stared at Naomi's last text. "I'll come. It was just dinner," he told himself. What could possibly go wrong? Little did he know, Vanessa Lane was already plotting her revenge. In her luxury SUV, she tapped a number into her phone. "It's me," she said when the call connected. "I need you to find everything you can on someone named Naomi Ellis. Yes, everything. The good, the bad, and especially the ugly. I don't care what it costs." She paused, a cruel smile playing on her red lips. Someone needs to be taught a lesson about staying in their place. Naomi spent all Saturday morning trying to decide what to wear for dinner with Gabriel. She had exactly one dress suitable for a nice restaurant, the same black one she'd worn to her college graduation. It wasn't fancy, but it was classic and well-made. As she ironed it, her phone rang. It was her mother. "Hey, Mama," Naomi answered, pressing the phone between her ear and shoulder as she continued ironing. "Baby, you sound busy. What are you up to? I thought you'd be sleeping after your night shift." Naomi hesitated. How could she explain to her mother that she was getting ready for dinner with one of the richest men in the city? A married man, no less. "I have plans tonight," she said simply. "Plans like a date?" Her mother's voice perked up with interest. "Who's the lucky guy?" "It's not exactly a date, Mama. Just dinner with a friend." "A friend, huh?" Her mother didn't sound convinced. "Must be some friend to have you ironing on your day off." "I can hear the iron, Naomi." Naomi sighed. Her mother knew her too well. "It's complicated." "Complicated usually means trouble," her mother warned. "Is he married?" Naomi nearly dropped the iron. "Why would you ask that?" "Because I know you, baby. You wouldn't be this evasive unless there was a problem. And in my experience, when a man makes things complicated for a beautiful young woman, it usually means he's got a wife at home." "It's not like that," Naomi protested, though it was exactly like that. "We're just having dinner." Her mother was quiet for a moment. "You know I trust your judgment, Naomi. You've always been smart. But be careful with your heart, okay? Men with power and money, they think different rules apply to them." "I know, Mama. I'll be careful." After hanging up, Naomi stared at her dress. Was she making a mistake? Probably. But something about Gabriel Lane made her want to take the risk. At precisely 7 p.m., a sleek black car pulled up in front of Naomi's apartment building. The driver, an older man with a kind face, opened the door for her. "Ms. Ellis? I'm Thomas, Mr. Lane's driver." Naomi nodded, suddenly nervous. "Nice to meet you, Thomas." "Mr. Lane is waiting at the restaurant," Thomas explained as he drove. "He had a meeting that ran late and asked me to bring you directly there." The restaurant was in Nob Hill, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city. As Thomas opened the car door for her, Naomi felt out of place despite her careful appearance. The host's eyes assessed her as she approached the entrance. "I'm meeting Mr. Lane," she said, lifting her chin slightly. The host's demeanor changed immediately. "Of course, Mr. Lane is waiting for you. Please follow me." He led her to a secluded corner table where Gabriel sat alone, checking his phone. When he looked up and saw her, he stood immediately, a genuine smile lighting up his face. "Naomi," he said, his voice warm. "You look beautiful." "Thank you," she replied, trying to ignore the flutter in her stomach. "You look nice too." And he did. Out of his business suit, dressed in dark slacks and a blue shirt that matched his eyes, Gabriel looked younger, more relaxed. "I hope you don't mind," he said as they sat down. "I took the liberty of ordering wine." "I don't drink much," Naomi admitted. "But a little wine is fine." Gabriel gestured to the waiter who poured them each a glass. "To new beginnings," Gabriel said, raising his glass. Naomi touched her glass to his. New beginnings. The first few minutes were awkward. Naomi felt the weight of the situation, having dinner with a married CEO who was also considering her for a job. But as they began to talk, the tension eased. Gabriel asked about her business courses, genuinely interested in what she was learning. Naomi found herself relaxing, even laughing at his stories about the corporate world. "So why cleaning?" Gabriel asked as they finished their main course. With your education, you could have found something else. Naomi shrugged. I tried. For months after graduation, I sent out hundreds of applications, but without connections or experience, doors kept closing. The cleaning job was supposed to be temporary. And then life happened. My mother got sick. Medical bills piled up. The night shift paid better and I could take classes during the day. Before I knew it, 3 years had passed. Gabriel nodded thoughtfully. You know, I started at the bottom too. Naomi raised an eyebrow. Somehow I doubt you were ever cleaning toilets, Gabriel. He laughed. No, but I was answering phones and fetching coffee. My father made sure I didn't get any special treatment when I started at the company. He believed in earning your way up. And did you? Earn your way? I like to think so, Gabriel said, his expression serious now. Despite what people assume, I worked hard for my position. Dad wasn't easy on me, maybe harder than on anyone else. Naomi studied him across the table. And what about Vanessa? Where does she fit into all this? Gabriel's expression darkened. He took a sip of wine before answering. Vanessa was part of the deal, in a way. Her father was my father's closest friend and business partner. They always joked about joining the family someday. So it was arranged. Naomi couldn't hide her surprise. Not exactly. We dated in college. It seemed like a good match on paper. But people change. He looked down at his wedding ring, twisting it absently. Or they reveal who they really are. Why stay married? Naomi asked softly. Gabriel sighed. Business mostly. Vanessa's family has connections we need, and there's a prenup that would cost Lane Enterprises a fortune if we divorced. Plus, she knows things, business decisions that wouldn't look good if made public. That sounds like a prison, not a marriage, Naomi observed. It is, Gabriel agreed, meeting her eyes. But I've gotten used to it. At least, I had until recently. The way he looked at her made Naomi's heart race. This was dangerous territory. Gabriel, she said carefully, whatever this is between us, it's complicated by too many things. Your marriage, the job interview, the fact that we come from completely different worlds. I know, he acknowledged, but when I'm with you, those complications seem to matter less. For the first time in years, I feel like myself, not just the CEO of Lane Enterprises or Vanessa's husband. Before Naomi could respond, Gabriel's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned. I'm sorry, I need to take this. It's James, my assistant. While Gabriel stepped away to take the call, Naomi tried to collect her thoughts. She was falling for him, despite all the reasons she shouldn't, and based on the way he looked at her, the feeling was mutual. Gabriel returned to the table looking troubled. I'm sorry, but I need to go. There's an issue at the office that requires my attention. On a Saturday night? Naomi asked. That's the joy of being CEO, he said with a rueful smile. The job never really ends. He signaled for the check. Thomas will take you home, but Naomi, I want to see you again. Gabriel, I don't think... Just think about it, he interrupted gently. That's all I'm asking. Outside, as Thomas held the car door open for her, Gabriel took her hand. Thank you for tonight. It meant more than you know. The simple touch of his hand sent warmth through her entire body. I enjoyed it too, she admitted. As the car pulled away from the restaurant, Naomi looked back to see Gabriel watching her go, a mixture of longing and regret on his face. What she didn't see was the dark SUV parked across the street, or the man inside taking photos of them both. Monday morning, Naomi received an email from Lane Enterprises. She had made it to the second round of interviews, scheduled for Wednesday. Despite her mixed feelings about getting involved with Gabriel's company, she couldn't help but feel proud. She had made it this far on her own merits, regardless of her connection to Gabriel. That night at work, Naomi moved through her tasks with a lightness she hadn't felt in years. Between the promising job prospect and her growing feelings for Gabriel, even cleaning up after drunk party guests couldn't dampen her spirits. Her phone buzzed with a text from G. Congratulations on making it to round 2, you earned it. Naomi smiled and texted back, thank you. I'm excited. Have dinner with me again? After your interview Wednesday. She hesitated, then replied, maybe. Let me get through the interview first. Fair enough. Good luck, though you won't need it. Wednesday morning, Naomi dressed carefully in her interview outfit and headed to Lane Enterprises. The second interview was with Marcus from operations and 2 team leads. Gabriel wasn't present, which was both a relief and a disappointment. The interview went even better than the first. They asked more technical questions this time, and Naomi's answers seemed to impress them. By the end, Marcus was nodding approvingly. "We'll be making our final decision by Friday," he told her. "But I have to say, Ms. Ellis, you're a strong candidate." As Naomi left the building, her phone buzzed with a text from Gabriel. "Heard it went well. Dinner tonight. I promise not to run off this time." Despite her better judgment, Naomi replied, "Okay, where and when?" "My place, 8 p.m., more private. Thomas will pick you up." Naomi stared at the text. His place? That was definitely crossing a line. But the thought of seeing him again, of continuing their conversation without prying eyes, was too tempting to resist. "Okay," she texted back, "but just dinner." That evening, Naomi changed into her black dress again and waited for Thomas. When the car arrived, her nervousness increased with every block they drove. What was she doing? This was madness. Thomas drove to one of the most exclusive buildings in the city, a sleek high-rise with a doorman and private elevator. "Mr. Lane's penthouse," he explained as he escorted her inside. The private elevator opened directly into Gabriel's apartment, though apartment seemed too modest a word for the sprawling space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern art hung on the walls, and the furniture looked like it belonged in a design magazine. Gabriel was waiting for her, a glass of wine in hand. "Naomi," he said, his face lighting up. "You came. I said I would," she replied, trying to appear calmer than she felt. "Let me show you around," he offered. The penthouse was even larger than it first appeared, with multiple bedrooms, a home office and a terrace with a breathtaking view of the bay. Naomi tried not to think about how many hours of cleaning toilets it would take her to afford even one piece of furniture in this place. "Do you live here alone?" she asked, noticing the distinctly masculine decor. "Vanessa and I maintain separate residences," Gabriel explained. "She has a place in Pacific Heights, better for hosting her social events, and better for keeping up appearances while living separate lives," Naomi observed. Gabriel nodded. "Exactly. We appear together when necessary for business functions. But otherwise, does anyone know about your arrangement?" "A few close friends. My assistant, James. Otherwise, we keep up the facade of a perfect power couple." Gabriel led her to the dining room, where a table was set for two with candles and fine china. "I had dinner brought in from the restaurant we went to last time. I hope that's okay." "It's perfect," Naomi said, genuinely touched by the gesture. Over dinner, they talked more openly than before. Gabriel told her about the pressure of taking over the company after his father's death, the constant scrutiny, the loneliness at the top. Naomi shared stories about her childhood, her mother's illness, her dreams for the future. "You know," Gabriel said as they finished dessert, "I haven't talked this much to anyone in years, not about things that matter. Not even Vanessa. Especially not Vanessa. Our conversations revolve around social engagements and appearances, never anything real." Naomi looked at him across the candle-lit table. "What is this, Gabriel? Between us? Because I need to be clear. I'm not interested in being your secret on the side while you maintain your perfect power marriage." Gabriel reached across the table and took her hand. "That's not what I want either. I haven't figured it all out yet, but I know that meeting you has changed something for me, made me question the compromises I've accepted for too long." The sincerity in his eyes made Naomi's resolve weaken. When he stood and pulled her gently to her feet, she didn't resist. When he led her to the terrace to look at the night view, she followed willingly. And when he turned to her, his eyes asking a question his lips hadn't formed yet, she answered by leaning toward him. Their first kiss was gentle, tentative, a question being asked and answered. When they pulled apart, Gabriel looked at her with wonder. "I've been wanting to do that since the moment you walked into that ballroom," he admitted. Naomi smiled. "Even though I was just the cleaning lady? Especially because you weren't just anything. You were the most real person in that entire room." He kissed her again, deeper this time, his arms pulling her close. Naomi felt herself responding, her body betraying all the logical reasons this was a bad idea. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Gabriel pressed his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. The single word hung between them, loaded with meaning and consequences. Naomi pulled back slightly, reality crashing back. "I can't, Gabriel. Not yet. There's too much unresolved. Your marriage. The job. I need time." He nodded, disappointment clear in his eyes, but respect there too. "I understand. I'll have Thomas take you home whenever you're ready." They sat on the terrace for another hour, talking softly, hands entwined. It felt like the beginning of something significant, something that could change both their lives forever. Meanwhile, across town, Vanessa Lane was looking through the file her private investigator had compiled on Naomi Ellis. Most of it was disappointingly ordinary. Good student, caring daughter, clean record. But one detail caught her eye. "Well, well," she murmured, a cold smile spreading across her face. "Isn't this interesting?" She picked up her phone and dialed. "Marcus, it's Vanessa Lane. I understand you're hiring for an operations coordinator position. I have some information about one of your candidates that I think you should know." Thursday morning, Naomi woke to a text from Gabriel. "Thinking of you. Can't wait to see you again." She smiled at her phone, allowing herself a moment of happiness before the doubts crept back in. What future could they possibly have? Even if Gabriel left Vanessa, the scandal would be enormous, and working at Lane Enterprises would be impossible if people thought she'd slept her way into the job. Still, she couldn't deny her feelings for him. For the first time in years, she felt alive, hopeful, seen for who she really was. Her phone rang, an unknown number. "Hello? Naomi Ellis, this is Helen from Lane Enterprises HR. Naomi sat up straight. "Yes, hello. I'm calling about your application for the operations coordinator position." "Yes?" Naomi's heart raced. It was too early for a final decision. This call could only mean very good news or very bad news. "I regret to inform you that we won't be moving forward with your candidacy." Naomi's stomach dropped. "May I ask why?" "The interviews seemed to go well." Helen's voice became stiff, professional. "It has come to our attention that you failed to disclose relevant information in your application, specifically about your mother's legal issues." "My mother's... what?" Naomi was genuinely confused. "What legal issues?" "Ms. Ellis, we're aware that your mother was involved in a lawsuit against Meadowbrook Medical Center 5 years ago, a facility partially owned by Lane Enterprises." Naomi's mind raced. The lawsuit after her mother's botched surgery. They had settled out of court with a non-disclosure agreement. She had never connected it to Lane Enterprises. "That was a private medical matter," Naomi said, her voice shaking. "It has nothing to do with my qualifications for this position." "Perhaps not, but the failure to disclose a potential conflict of interest is concerning. We wish you the best in your future endeavors." The call ended, leaving Naomi stunned. How had they found out? The settlement had been confidential. The only way they could know was if someone had specifically gone looking for dirt on her. Vanessa. It had to be. Anger and hurt bubbled up inside her. Had Gabriel known about this? Had their dinner been a setup to humiliate her? Was this whole thing just an elaborate game? She grabbed her phone and called Gabriel's number. It went straight to voicemail. She tried again with the same result. Fighting back tears, Naomi typed a text. "Was this your plan all along? Get close to me, then reject my application. Did you know about my mother's lawsuit?" No response. Naomi's mind whirled with possibilities, each worse than the last. Had Gabriel been playing her from the start? Was he working with Vanessa to teach her a lesson about stepping out of her place? By evening, she still hadn't heard from Gabriel. She dressed for her night shift mechanically, feeling numb. Whatever had been building between them was clearly over before it truly began. As she entered the service entrance of the Grand Plaza, her supervisor called her over. "Ellis, you're on ballroom duty tonight. Solo. Solo. But that room seats 500. It's always a team cleanup." "Orders from above," he said with a shrug. "Some private event. Just one guest," they said. "Weird, but they're paying premium." Naomi frowned. One guest in the grand ballroom. It made no sense. When she entered the ballroom, pushing her cleaning cart, she stopped short. The massive room was empty except for a single table in the center, set for two with candles and flowers, and standing beside it was Gabriel Lane. "What is this?" Naomi asked, not moving from the doorway. "A chance to explain," Gabriel said, walking toward her. "I've been in meetings all day. My phone died, and I just saw your messages an hour ago." "Explain what?" Naomi's voice was cold. "How your company rejected me because of my mother's private medical lawsuit. How convenient that information suddenly came to light." Gabriel's face showed genuine confusion. "What are you talking about? What lawsuit? Don't pretend you don't know. Lane Enterprises called me this morning to reject my application because my mother sued Meadowbrook Medical Center 5 years ago. Apparently your company partially owns it." Gabriel's expression changed from confusion to anger. "I had no idea about any of this, Naomi, I swear. I was told you withdrew your application voluntarily. Why would I do that? That's what I couldn't figure out." Gabriel ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "Vanessa, it has to be. She must have dug into your background and then manipulated the situation." "And why should I believe you?" Naomi demanded. "For all I know, this whole thing, The dance, the dinner, all of it, was just some game between you and your wife. Gabriel stepped closer, his eyes intense. Look at me, Naomi, really look. Do you honestly believe I've been playing you? That what's happening between us isn't real? Naomi wanted to stay angry, to protect herself from more hurt, but looking into his eyes, she couldn't deny the genuine emotion she saw there. Then fix it, she said simply. If you mean what you say, if you have all this power, fix it. I will, Gabriel promised. I'll make this right. The job, Vanessa, all of it. But I need you to trust me a little longer. Can you do that? Naomi hesitated, then nodded slowly. I want to, but Gabriel, I can't keep living in limbo. Whatever's happening between us, whatever you need to sort out with Vanessa, it needs to happen soon. I won't be a secret and I won't be a pawn. Gabriel took her hands in his. You're neither of those things to me, Naomi. You're the most important person in my life right now. And I promise you, by this time next week, everything will be different. Different how? Naomi asked. I'm going to end my marriage, Gabriel said firmly. I should have done it years ago. Consequences be damned. Meeting you made me realize how much I've been settling for a life that isn't really living. Naomi's heart raced at his words. Are you sure? The business implications. I don't care anymore, Gabriel interrupted. Some things are more important than business. He pulled her close and kissed her, a kiss full of promise and hope. Naomi allowed herself to believe just for a moment that everything might work out. What neither of them knew was that Vanessa Lane was already setting her final plan in motion, a plan that would threaten not just their budding relationship, but Gabriel's entire empire and Naomi's future. In her luxurious Pacific Heights home, Vanessa raised a glass of champagne to her reflection in the mirror. Enjoy him while you can, little cleaning girl, she said to her reflection, because by this time next week you'll both have nothing. The next morning, Gabriel sat in his office staring at divorce papers. His lawyer had prepared them overnight, a testament to what money and power could accomplish when properly applied. All he had to do was sign them and have them delivered to Vanessa, but it wouldn't be that simple. Vanessa wouldn't go quietly, especially not after she learned about Naomi. The prenuptial agreement would protect much of the company, but Vanessa could still do significant damage if she chose to go public with certain information. His intercom buzzed. Mr. Lane, your 9-ounce arm is here. Send him in, Gabriel replied. James Porter entered, efficient as always, carrying a tablet and a concerned expression. You look worried, James, Gabriel observed. With respect, sir, I am worried. James sat down across from his boss. I've been with you for 8 years. I've never seen you make decisions this impulsive. Gabriel smiled slightly. You mean Naomi? I mean everything. The divorce, the reorganization of the operations department, the sudden interest in Meadowbrook Medical's history. It's a lot of major changes all at once. Sometimes change is necessary, Gabriel said. I've been stuck in a holding pattern for years, an empty marriage, running a company I inherited rather than built. Meeting Naomi made me realize how much I've been missing. James nodded slowly. I understand that, sir, but Vanessa is a problem I should have dealt with long ago, Gabriel interrupted. Did you find what I asked about? James handed over his tablet. Yes. Meadowbrook Medical Center was acquired by Lane Enterprises as part of a larger healthcare portfolio purchase 5 years ago. There were several lawsuits pending at the time, including one from a Ms. Elaine Ellis, presumably Naomi's mother, regarding a surgical complication. The case was settled out of court with a non-disclosure agreement, and our HR department rejected Naomi's application because of this. Officially, yes, but I spoke with Helen in HR. She received a call directly from Vanessa, who framed it as a serious conflict of interest that Naomi had deliberately hidden. Gabriel's jaw tightened. Vanessa has no authority to make hiring decisions. No, but she is still your wife, and she implied she was acting with your knowledge. Helen didn't feel she could ignore the information. Gabriel stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. I need to fix this, James. All of it. If I may suggest, sir, James said carefully, perhaps a more strategic approach would be wise. Mrs. Lane has connections throughout the industry. A messy public divorce could impact stock prices, investor confidence, and our pending government contracts. Gabriel turned back to face his assistant. I appreciate your concern, James, but some things are more important than business. James looked surprised. In all the years he'd worked for Gabriel, he'd never heard him say anything was more important than Lane Enterprises. What would you like me to do? James asked finally. First, Call HR and tell them to reinstate Naomi's application and schedule a final interview. Second, find out exactly what Vanessa knows and who she's been talking to. And third, Gabriel picked up the divorce papers, have these delivered to my wife this afternoon. After James left, Gabriel texted Naomi, things are in motion. Trust me a little longer. Across town, Naomi was having coffee with her mother. She hadn't told her about Gabriel yet, but her mother knew something was going on. You're different lately, Elaine Ellis observed, studying her daughter's face. Distracted. What's on your mind, baby? Naomi sighed. It's complicated, Mama. It's that man, isn't it? The friend you had dinner with. How do you always know? Elaine smiled. I'm your mother. It's my job to know. She reached across the table and took Naomi's hand. Is he good to you? Yes, Naomi said without hesitation. He's kind and thoughtful and he listens when I talk. He makes me feel... She paused, searching for the right word. Seen. That's a good start, Elaine nodded. But there's a but coming, isn't there? He's married, Naomi admitted. Separated, but still legally married, and he's wealthy, very wealthy. Elaine's expression grew serious. That's a lot of complications, Naomi. I know, but he's going to end his marriage, he promised. Men promise a lot of things, Elaine said gently. But even if he does leave his wife, are you ready for what comes next? Rich people live in a different world, baby, with different rules. I know that better than most, Mama. I've been cleaning up after them for 3 years. Cleaning up after them and living among them are two very different things. Before Naomi could respond, her phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. Hello? Ms. Ellis, this is Helen from Lane Enterprises again. Naomi's heart sank. What now? I'm calling to apologize for our previous conversation. There seems to have been a misunderstanding regarding your application. We would like to invite you for a final interview tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you're still interested in the position. Naomi was speechless for a moment. Yes, I'm still interested. Excellent. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. After hanging up, Naomi stared at her phone in disbelief. Gabriel did it, she whispered. Did what? Her mother asked. Who's Gabriel? Naomi looked up, realizing she'd said it aloud. The man I've been seeing. He's the CEO of Lane Enterprises. Elaine's eyes widened. Lane Enterprises? The same company that owns that medical center that nearly killed me? You knew they owned it? Naomi was surprised. Of course I knew. It was all in the settlement papers. Lane Enterprises was the parent company. Elaine shook her head in disbelief. And now you're dating the CEO and interviewing for a job there? Naomi, what are you thinking? Gabriel didn't know about your lawsuit, Mama. That part of the company was acquired after he took over. And when he found out how they rejected my application, he fixed it. Elaine didn't look convinced. Be careful, baby. Men with that kind of money and power, they can make problems disappear, but they can make people disappear too. Naomi squeezed her mother's hand. Gabriel's not like that. He's different. I hope you're right, Elaine said softly, for your sake. That afternoon, Vanessa Lane was enjoying a massage at her favorite spa when her phone rang. Annoyed at the interruption, she almost ignored it until she saw it was her private investigator. This better be important, she snapped. It is, Mrs. Lane. I just observed a courier delivering what appeared to be legal documents to your home, and I've been monitoring your husband's communications as requested. He's been in contact with divorce attorneys. Vanessa sat up abruptly, startling the massage therapist. Leave, she ordered the woman, who quickly exited the room. What else? She demanded into the phone. He's also reinstated that Ellis woman's job application and scheduled her for a final interview tomorrow. Vanessa's perfectly manicured nails dug into her palm. Has he been in contact with her? Multiple text messages daily, and last night he rented out the entire grand ballroom at the plaza just to meet with her. That son of a bitch, Vanessa hissed. He's really going to throw everything away for some cleaning girl. There's one more thing, the investigator added. I found something interesting when looking deeper into Ms. Ellis's background. Her mother's lawsuit against Meadowbrook Medical, the settlement included something unusual. What? Vanessa demanded impatiently. A clause that would void the entire non-disclosure agreement if any party used the information to damage Ms. Ellis or her family in any way. If that were to happen, they would be free to go public with the entire case. Vanessa went very still. And what exactly was the case about? A surgical error that left Mrs. Ellis partially paralyzed for 6 months. The doctor involved was Dr. Lawrence Reed. Reed? Vanessa's voice sharpened. Are you sure? Positive. Does that name mean something to you? Oh, it means something all right, Vanessa said, a cold smile spreading across her face. It means I know exactly how to handle this situation. After hanging up, Vanessa called another number, one she rarely used. Dr. Reed? It's Vanessa Lane. I think it's time we had a conversation about that favor you owe me. The next morning, Naomi arrived at Lane Enterprises for her final interview. She was nervous but excited. If she got this job on her own merits, it would be a fresh start, a chance to finally use her education and move forward in her career. The receptionist directed her to a different conference room this time, smaller and more intimate. Inside, she was surprised to find only Gabriel waiting for her. "Where is everyone else?" she asked, confused. "They'll be here shortly," Gabriel assured her, looking tired but happy to see her. "I wanted a moment alone with you first." He took her hands in his. "I've filed for divorce, Naomi. The papers were delivered to Vanessa yesterday." Naomi's heart skipped a beat. "How did she take it?" "I don't know yet. She hasn't responded, which worries me. Vanessa isn't one to take anything quietly." Before Naomi could reply, the door opened and James entered with Helen from HR and Marcus from operations. "Shall we begin?" Helen said with a professional smile. The interview was thorough but fair. No one mentioned Naomi's mother's lawsuit or gave any indication that they knew about her relationship with Gabriel. They asked challenging questions about operations, management strategies, and problem-solving. Naomi answered confidently, drawing on both her education and her practical experience. By the end, Marcus was nodding approvingly. "Very impressive, Ms. Ellis. I think you'd be an excellent fit for our team." Helen agreed. "We'll be making our final decision by the end of the day, but I have to say, you're our strongest candidate." After they left, Gabriel smiled at Naomi. "You were amazing. They have no idea we know each other beyond the initial interview. The job will be yours based entirely on your own abilities." Naomi felt a weight lift from her shoulders. "Thank you for making this right. It's just the beginning," Gabriel promised. Once the divorce is finalized, the door burst open, interrupting him mid-sentence. Vanessa Lane stood in the doorway, impeccably dressed as always, but with a dangerous glint in her eyes. "So this is where you're hiding," she said to Gabriel, ignoring Naomi completely. "I've been trying to reach you." Gabriel stood, placing himself slightly in front of Naomi. "We have nothing to discuss, Vanessa. My lawyers will handle everything from here." Vanessa laughed, a brittle sound with no humor in it. "Oh, I think we have plenty to discuss. For instance, your new girlfriend's mother and her interesting medical history." Naomi stiffened. "Leave my mother out of this." Vanessa turned to her, as if noticing her for the first time. "Ah, the cleaning girl speaks. Tell me, Naomi, did you know that the doctor who operated on your mother, Dr. Reed, is an old family friend of mine?" "What does that have to do with anything?" Gabriel demanded. "Everything," Vanessa smiled coldly, "because Dr. Reed made a mistake during that surgery. A mistake that nearly killed Elaine Ellis. A mistake that could have ended his career, if not for my intervention." Naomi felt sick. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I convinced my father to handle the settlement quietly, to keep Dr. Reed's name clean, and in return he's been very cooperative over the years." Vanessa turned back to Gabriel, including signing off on certain prescriptions without asking questions. Gabriel went pale. "The sleeping pills, and the anxiety medication, and the painkillers," Vanessa confirmed. "All those little helpers that got me through our sham of a marriage, all technically legal, but obtained in ways that would raise serious questions for both Dr. Reed and Lane Enterprises if they came to light." "That's your big threat," Gabriel scoffed. "Prescription fraud? I'm willing to weather that storm, Vanessa." "Are you willing to weather industrial espionage?" Vanessa countered. "Because every time you were working late, I was copying files. Every password you absent-mindedly typed while I watched, I remembered. I know about the government contract violations, the offshore accounts, the corners you cut to beat deadlines." Gabriel's face hardened. "You're bluffing. Try me." Vanessa pulled a flash drive from her purse. "Everything is here, and on servers only I can access. If you proceed with this divorce, if you hire her," she jerked her head toward Naomi, "I will burn Lane Enterprises to the ground. Your father's legacy will be ashes." The room fell silent. Naomi looked at Gabriel, saw the conflict in his eyes. This was about more than just their relationship now. It was about his company, his employees, his family's legacy. "You should go," Gabriel said quietly, not looking at Naomi. "Gabriel," Naomi began. "Please, Naomi, I need to handle this." Hurt and confused, Naomi gathered her things and walked to the door. As she passed Vanessa, the woman smirked triumphantly. Back to the cleaning cart, dear, Vanessa whispered. Where you belong. Naomi paused, then turned to face her. You know what the difference is between us, Vanessa. I may clean toilets for a living, but you're the one full of shit. Vanessa's smug expression faltered as Naomi walked out with her head held high. Once alone with his wife, Gabriel's demeanor changed. What do you want, Vanessa? Really? I want what's mine, she replied coldly. Half the company, as my prenup entitles me to if you're unfaithful. And I want you to end whatever this pathetic midlife crisis is with the cleaning girl. Gabriel considered his options. If he fought her, Vanessa would follow through on her threats. The company would suffer, people would lose jobs, and the scandal would be enormous. But if he gave in, he'd lose Naomi and remain trapped in a loveless marriage. I need time to think, he said finally. Take all the time you need, Vanessa replied, dropping the flash drive back into her purse. But remember, I'm watching. One wrong move and everything comes crashing down. That evening, Naomi's phone remained silent. No text from Gabriel, no call from Lane Enterprises about the job. Her heart ached with disappointment and worry. Had he given up so easily? Had everything he said about starting fresh been just words? Around midnight, as she prepared for her cleaning shift, there was a knock at her door. When she opened it, James Porter stood in the hallway. Mr. Lane would like to see you, he said without preamble. Is he waiting in another fancy car? Naomi asked bitterly. No, Miss Ellis, he's at Mercy Hospital. There's been an accident. Naomi's world tilted. What kind of accident? Is he okay? He was found unconscious in his office. The doctors suspect a stroke or heart attack, but they're still running tests. Take me to him, Naomi said immediately, grabbing her coat. The drive to the hospital was tense and silent. Naomi's mind raced with worst-case scenarios. Was this her fault? Had the stress of everything, the divorce, Vanessa's threats, their relationship, been too much for him? At the hospital, James led her through corridors that reminded her too much of her mother's stay after her surgery. They stopped outside a private room where a security guard stood watch. He's in there, James said. The doctors say he's stable but unconscious. They don't know when he'll wake up. Naomi hesitated at the door. Should I be here? What about Vanessa? Mrs. Lane has been notified but has not yet arrived. James's expression was unreadable. Mr. Lane left specific instructions that if anything happened to him, you were to be granted access. Taking a deep breath, Naomi entered the room. Gabriel lay in the hospital bed, pale and still, connected to monitors that beeped steadily. He looked smaller somehow, more vulnerable than the powerful CEO she knew. Naomi approached the bed and gently took his hand. I'm here, Gabriel, she whispered. Behind her, the door opened again. Expecting a doctor, Naomi turned and found herself face to face with Vanessa Lane. What are you doing here? Vanessa demanded, her voice low but furious. James brought me, Naomi said, not backing down. Gabriel wanted me here. Well, I don't, Vanessa snapped. This is a family matter and you are not family. Leave now, or I'll have security remove you. Before Naomi could respond, a weak voice spoke from the bed. She stays. Both women turned in surprise. Gabriel's eyes were open, though he looked exhausted. Gabriel! Naomi moved back to his side, relief washing over her. Well, isn't this touching? Vanessa said sarcastically. The dutiful mistress at the bedside. Save the performance, Gabriel. The doctors already told me it was just exhaustion and dehydration, not a heart attack. Get out, Vanessa, Gabriel said, his voice stronger now. James, please escort my soon-to-be ex-wife from the room. James, who had been standing quietly by the door, stepped forward. Mrs. Lane, if you'll come with me. This isn't over, Vanessa hissed, but allowed herself to be led out. Once they were alone, Naomi squeezed Gabriel's hand. You scared me. What happened? I collapsed in my office, Gabriel explained. The doctor says it was a combination of stress, exhaustion, and not eating or drinking enough all day. Not a heart attack, but a warning sign. I thought, Naomi's voice caught, after what happened with Vanessa when you didn't call, I thought maybe you'd changed your mind about us. Gabriel shook his head. Never. I just needed time to figure out how to handle Vanessa without destroying the company. And I think I have a solution, but I need your help. What kind of help? Gabriel reached for the water cup on his bedside table. Naomi helped him take a sip before he continued. Vanessa has information that could hurt Lane Enterprises, but she's forgetting something important. Lane Enterprises has information too. Information about her father's business practices, about Dr. Reed's prescriptions, about her own financial improprieties. So it's mutually assured destruction? Naomi asked. Exactly. but I need proof of her threats to make it work. Gabriel looked at her intently. I need you to meet with her, wearing a recording device. Get her to repeat her threats. Naomi hesitated. She hates me, Gabriel. She'll be suspicious if I approach her. Not if you appear to be giving up. Tell her you're walking away from me, from the job, from all of it. Make her think she's won. Her ego won't let her resist gloating. It was a risky plan, but it might be their only chance. Okay, Naomi agreed. I'll do it. The next day, after Gabriel was released from the hospital, the plan was set in motion. Naomi called Vanessa and requested a meeting, claiming she wanted to make peace before leaving town. Vanessa, unable to resist the opportunity to gloat, agreed to meet at a quiet cafe. James provided Naomi with a discreet recording device and instructions on how to lead the conversation. Gabriel would be nearby but out of sight, ready to intervene if necessary. When Naomi arrived at the cafe, Vanessa was already there, looking smug and victorious. "This is a surprise," Vanessa said as Naomi sat down. "I didn't think you had the spine to face me after yesterday." "I just wanted you to know that I'm leaving," Naomi said, keeping her voice steady. "I'm not taking the job at Lane Enterprises, and I'm not seeing Gabriel anymore." A satisfied smile spread across Vanessa's face. "Smart girl. You finally realized you don't belong in our world." "I realized I don't want to be in the middle of your war with Gabriel," Naomi corrected. "But I am curious. How far would you really have gone? Would you really have destroyed Lane Enterprises just to keep him?" Vanessa laughed. "Oh, honey, I would burn the whole company to the ground before I'd let Gabriel walk away with some cleaning girl. Every file, every secret, every dirty deal, I know them all, and I would have exposed everything. Even if it hurt you too," Naomi pressed. "I have my own money, my own connections. I'd land on my feet." Vanessa leaned forward, her voice dropping. "But Gabriel? His precious family legacy would be destroyed, his father's name dragged through the mud. He'd have nothing. And my mother's case? Dr. Reed? Collateral damage," Vanessa shrugged. "Though I must admit, threatening to expose the man who almost killed your mother was a nice touch. The look on your face was priceless." "So it was all a bluff?" Naomi asked, wanting to be absolutely clear for the recording. "Not all of it. The prescriptions were real. The industrial espionage was real. I just exaggerated my role in your mother's settlement. But it worked, didn't it? Gabriel was ready to give you up to save his precious company." "Except he didn't," came a voice from behind them. Vanessa whirled around to find Gabriel standing there, looking pale but determined. Behind him stood James, and a woman Naomi didn't recognize. "What is this?" Vanessa demanded. "This," Gabriel said calmly, "is Checkmate. Vanessa, meet Catherine Morris from the SEC. She's been very interested in hearing about your activities." Vanessa's face drained of color. "You're bluffing. We have your confession on tape," Gabriel said, "and we have the real flash drive you've been keeping as insurance, the one James removed from your purse yesterday while you were distracted at the hospital." "James?" Vanessa looked betrayed. "You work for me too." "I work for Lane Enterprises," James corrected. "And, Mr. Lane." Gabriel placed a document on the table. "These are new divorce terms. You get a generous settlement but no company shares. You sign a non-disclosure agreement. You disappear from our lives. In return, we don't press charges for corporate espionage." Vanessa stared at the papers, then at Gabriel. "And if I refuse? Then Ms. Morris here takes you into custody, and we let the justice system decide your fate." Gabriel's voice was calm but firm. "It's your choice, Vanessa. But choose quickly." For a long moment, Vanessa sat frozen, her mind clearly racing through options. Finally, her shoulders sagged in defeat. She reached for the pen Gabriel offered and signed the documents. "I hope she's worth it," Vanessa said bitterly, nodding toward Naomi. "She is," Gabriel replied without hesitation. "She's worth everything." 3 months later, Naomi stood in her new office at Lane Enterprises, arranging family photos on her desk. The operations coordinator position had been hers for 2 months now, and she was thriving. Her team respected her, her ideas were valued, and she was finally using her education in meaningful ways. The divorce had been finalized quickly and quietly. Vanessa had taken her settlement and moved to Europe, far from the scandal she'd tried to create. Dr. Reed had voluntarily surrendered his medical license after Gabriel presented evidence of his prescription fraud. Most importantly, Naomi and Gabriel were building something real together. They were taking it slowly. Naomi had kept her apartment, insisting on maintaining her independence even as they grew closer. Gabriel respected her boundaries and supported her career, never interfering with her professional growth at the company. A knock on her office door interrupted her thoughts. Gabriel stood there, smiling that special smile he reserved just for her. "Ready for lunch?" he asked. "Almost," Naomi replied, placing the last photo on her desk, a new one of her mother, now fully recovered, standing beside Naomi at her Lane Enterprises welcome party. Gabriel entered the office and wrapped his arms around her from behind. "Have I told you today how proud I am of you?" "Only twice," Naomi smiled, leaning back against him. "But I don't mind hearing it again. I'm proud of you," he whispered, kissing her cheek. "And I love you." "I love you too," Naomi replied, turning in his arms to face him. "Who would have thought it, the cleaning lady and the CEO?" "I knew from the moment you walked into that ballroom," Gabriel said. "You were never just a guest of honor, Naomi. You were always the most important person in the room." Hand in hand, they walked out of her office, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. They had faced down threats and overcome obstacles. They had proven that sometimes the most unlikely beginnings could lead to the most beautiful endings. And as they stepped into the elevator together, Naomi knew that no matter what challenges came next, they would face them together. The cleaning lady who refused to be laughed at, and the powerful man who had forgotten everyone else the moment he saw her. The end